Sometimes it's your partner who pulls you into a couples trip with his high school friends, or there's the dreaded work meeting that's disguised as an incentive trip. From time to time, you might find yourself on a vacation where you're surrounded by challenging people or interpersonal landmines. But that doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice your mental health or that you're doomed to have no fun at all. I'm Dr. Jamie, and our summer vacation topic today is Don't Kill My Vacation Vibe. This video is going to cover strategies to deal with challenging travel companions. This first section is going to talk about establishing your boundaries. So first things first, do you even have to go on this vacation? Think about it. Many of us have limited vacation time. Is this really how you want to be spending it? You don't have to say yes to traveling with just anyone. Be choosy about how you spend your free time and pick your companions well. Say no liberally when you know people might stop your vacation from vacationing. That's totally okay. And if that's all you needed to hear, I love that for you. Feel free to log off and I'll see you in the next video. But for the rest of us, we might have to vacation with family, friends, or even coworkers who we just find challenging. But how can you stay firm on your boundaries so that you can prioritize your enjoyment and rest and relaxation on your next vacation? Well, it starts from the very beginning. Start by making your own travel plans. Just because you're traveling in a group doesn't mean that you have to do everything together. If you can decide how you'll get there, when you'll get there, and where you'll stay when you're there, that can ensure that your travel experience is consistent with your personal preferences. It also sends a strong message to the group about your personal boundaries. Maintaining your boundaries also involves fully understanding your own limits. A little self-awareness goes a long way here. Knowing yourself and ensuring that you're striking the right balance between things that you have to do and things that you want to do can help make the experience more enjoyable. If you're an introvert or more of an omnivore like me, it's important to understand having a balance between things that you're doing with a group and alone time. Understanding and prioritizing your boundaries is the first step that gets us to the second strategy, which is to ensure that you have moments of self-care during these vacation times. Self-care during vacation generally falls into two categories: decreasing internal stress before, during, and after vacation, and promoting relaxation throughout your vacation. First, let's focus on decreasing internal stress before, during, and after vacation. If you know that you're going to be dealing with difficult interpersonal dynamics during a vacation, don't leave your vacation planning or travel logistics to the last minute. It takes a lot of mental energy to deal with unpleasant people. So let's not add to your internal stress by stacking the stress of travel planning and travel logistics on top of that. And having a trusted packing system can help to decrease the amount of stress before a vacation. I like to lean hard on my Notion travel templates and packing lists, and I'll leave a link down below if you're interested in checking out my system for keeping all of travel logistics organized and in one place. While you're thinking about your vacation and kind of pre-planning what's going on, this might be a good time to pre-stage or pre-plan some self-care activities during your time away from home. Carving out protected time for self-care and relaxation can provide a much-needed buffer from people that you are forced to spend time with. There are many things that you can do to promote relaxation and engage in self-care on vacation or during an extended trip. This includes something as simple as taking a long shower or finding a relaxing space. You might also find it helpful to know some breathing exercises that you can engage in anywhere. And I personally like to do exercise when I'm on vacation, and it also helps to alleviate some of that stress and anxiety I feel when I'm around a lot of people. If you prefer something a little bit more low-key, you could also take some time to meditate. There are plenty of guided meditations on YouTube, as well as free apps like Headspace or Calm. These apps take away all the guesswork and make it really easy for you to take a moment to meditate, decompress, or just be on your own. If you find that doing some of these things on your own isn't enough to get you into that Zen vacation mode, consider enlisting an ally. Your spouse, your bestie, or even the bartender at the resort might be able to serve as your emotional support person. I tend to lean on my partner, and sometimes I text him over an emoji, and he knows that that means I need some backup or I'm ready to go. My sister is my ally when I'm attending extended family events because I find those particularly stressful, so we arrange to arrive and leave at the same time, or we even drive over together, and that decreases the stress because I have my emotional support person or ally with me at all times. The next strategy is to have the right mindset. Are you even a psychologist on YouTube if you don't address mindset? No, sir, you are not. In so many situations, it is really useful to ask yourself, what is my goal here? Am I here out of obligation to my spouse, to my job, or maybe to myself as a networking opportunity? Is the point of this vacation to give your kids the experience of being on the trip or the experience of being on this vacation? Keep your goal in mind and act according to those goals. This helps you identify the positive aspects of the trip, which counters negativity bias and increases the joy that you feel when you're acting consistent with your values. Focusing on the purpose of the trip can help you stay sane when you're dealing with quirky people. If you're watching this video, you might have someone or a group of people in mind that might be challenging travel companions. And that's great because the next mindset shift is to manage your expectations about the behaviors of others. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. If your boyfriend's best friend gets drunk and throws up in the cab every time you go to Vegas, expect that he's going to get drunk and throw up in the cab this time that you go to Vegas. If your mother asks you when you're going to get married every time you talk, expect her to ask you when you're going to get married at the pool in Florida. A definition of happiness in the psychological literature is when reality meets your expectations. Maximize your chances of happiness by expecting that people will be as they have always been and be open to being pleasantly surprised if they're not. When you're thinking about and anticipating the behavior of others, it might be a really good time for you to start thinking about pre-canned responses or actions to things people might do or say when you're on vacation with them. I tend to experience this in regards to my sleeping patterns. Depending on when I go on vacation, I may or may not be prepping for an athletic competition, and sometimes I'm really prioritizing sleep, which means that I'm going to go to sleep early even when I'm in a group setting and even when I'm on vacation. This can ruffle some feathers sometimes, which is why I have pre-canned, rehearsed responses to things people might say about my 9 o'clock bedtime. Rehearsing your responses might seem a little silly, but it prepares you to respond appropriately under pressure. When you are triggered, annoyed, or irritated, it can be hard to regulate your emotions. And you may fall into your usual patterns of responding, or you might feel pressured to acquiesce to another person. Rehearsing your responses in your head or out loud makes it easier for you to respond more appropriately. Now, speaking of triggers, it is really helpful if you're able to understand your own triggers. If you take some time to reflect on your own triggers and you know what they are, it makes it easier for you to pre-plan how you're going to respond to those triggers. It also gives you an opportunity to think through how you're going to handle yourself when you are triggered. Speaking of looking inward, the next strategy is to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. I want you to come on in for a little secret. Come close. Sometimes it's you. But you don't have to be. You don't have to be part of the problem. Don't contribute to the interpersonal stress by bringing up difficult or controversial topics. There's no need to push people's buttons or trigger them. Wouldn't it be nice if we could all just enjoy this vacation? Play nice with others. Be the change you want to see. Give nice a try, and any other meme that you can look up on Pinterest. Just be nice. One thing that could influence this is alcohol. I know earlier in the video I said that you could use the bartender as your emotional support person, But consider limiting your alcohol consumption if you're in a situation where you're going to be around a lot of difficult people. Look, I love a tropical drink on vacation, but alcohol is a disinhibitor. And these tips require you to engage your full frontal lobe. And drinking decreases the likelihood that you'll be able to effectively implement these tips because these tips require a high level of emotional control and emotion regulation. And while we're talking about making good choices about what goes in your mouth, consider eating and hydrating appropriately. If you're hangry or lightheaded, you're killing your own vibe. So do yourself a favor and make sure that you're eating properly and staying hydrated. All right, what if you're taking care of yourself and you're being nice and people are still being jerks? Well, when all else fails, don't engage. It's totally possible that people aren't being nice to you, that their kids are out of control, that all of the activities your cousin planned are just corny. But just remember that you don't need to engage. You don't need to engage with these types of people in your everyday life, and you don't need to engage with them on vacation. But maintaining your emotional and physical boundaries is hard, and it doesn't really come naturally to most people. Which is why I made this video right here explaining the full type and range of boundaries, including how boundary violations might have you feeling constantly overwhelmed.